I'm so glad you're here listening to the Sustain Your Passion podcast. I'm Genesis, your host and business development expert. If you're ready to make a bigger impact and income while helping others, then you're in the right place. Thanks for joining me, and I can't wait to help you sustain your passion. Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Sustain Your Passion, where I'm going to talk with you about 3 of the biggest influences on my confidence and my ability to show up courageously online and let myself be seen and known and heard for all sorts of things. Because there was definitely a time where this was not so easy for me, and I know a lot of my clients struggle with this as well. So I just want to share with you 3 different strategies that have really helped me and are definitely not done. So it's important for me to give this caveat that none of this work is done. You don't get to really check it off and be like, okay, I'm confident now, so I'm good. Like, you constantly have to be working on your mindset and ultimately starting with your feelings of self-acceptance and self-love. So even if you're like me and you're super passionate, you're ADHD, you're plus size, woman of color, whatever it may be that you think makes you different or makes you feel uncomfortable about being seen or known online especially, I'm hoping that one of these concepts speaks to you today and helps you feel a little bit more comfortable being known and seen online, especially as you are getting used to developing content or marketing if you're a new coach. So the first area that I constantly am working on is self-acceptance or body positivity. And in general, I think of this as a really important area because being able to embrace my identity as a plus size woman of color has been super transformative for me and my business and honestly my life in general. But I want to talk to you about when I first discovered that I'm a person of color, which I know you're probably like, what? Did you not know that? But I grew up in very white communities. And here's the thing, like, there is all sorts of perspectives on how race shows up in the world, and I'm not currently on this episode going to talk about my beliefs, experiences, or knowledge around that, but I am going to speak to the fact that I grew up being bullied for being a woman of color. And I remember being called, brownie and not understanding what that meant until I was like 20 and I was in my first social justice training on the Oregon State University campus. And I was an undergrad student, probably, I think it was my junior year. I was at a training and we were doing reflections on our identities. And I was asked to pick a box, right? Like what race I was. And I remember it was one of the first times I ever saw Middle Eastern pulled out from white, like it was separated. And that was really important to me because as someone who was half white, my mom is white and my dad is Iranian or Middle Eastern, but I physically look brown skinned, like I have tan skin. I was socialized and racialized and minoritized as a person of color from a very young age. But that wasn't taught to me. I was raised by my mom because my parents divorced when I was really young. And honestly, my dad did his best to just fit in, He had to assimilate. And so in many ways, even he wasn't super proud or talked about that he also wasn't white. So, I didn't have very many people that were having these conversations around me. I didn't have a community or teachers that were helping me understand these experiences I was having, like being, dejected by kids in my class because my dad was Iranian, and after 9/11 happened and we lived close to LAX, like they started rumors about me, and there was this awful incident with like locking me in a classroom and pouring water on me. I don't remember the details, but there was a lot of bullying as a kid. And then growing up, being in a bigger body, boys are mean, but girls are also mean. So like there was a lot of hard moments and stories that I was told by other people about my body that I didn't want to accept as true, but were currently running the show around my beliefs and made it really hard for me to share my honest stories online, even show like physically up online to show myself in videos or even like post photos of myself. So all of that made it really fucking hard to run an online business as a coach where I don't have products to show in my photos, but I have myself to show pictures of in my photos and my marketing. And those beliefs were, running the show, and they were always in my mind, but I didn't really take control of them or push through those fears or rewrite those beliefs, whatever you would say about it, until I actually looked at it and had the support of others to help me take control back over my fears of living in my body. And just prioritizing self-acceptance and body positivity by, following creators on social media accounts of people that look like you, that talk about these topics, that understand the complexities of race in the States and knows how living in a plus-sized, I don't know how to say this, like the words, but as a plus-size woman of color, know that comes with different experiences is so critical. And so some of my favorite books I've read on this, like first and foremost, the self-compassion book, I think is what it's called. It's like Kristen Neff's work, I want to say. And then there's another book called Radical Self-Acceptance that I remember really enjoying. I think it was by Tara Matthews was maybe her last name. But both of those were fantastic books and were so helpful in recognizing like we're all just humans doing our best. And I really have always had this like core belief that who I am is enough, but then all these icky stories got piled on top that kept me stuck and kept me hidden. And it was more so about unlearning things than like relearning new concepts. It was getting rid of all the muck and the junk that, really needed to be dusted off and rewritten. And that work helped me so much, and I continue to need to do this work. Every time I post a little bit more honestly or post something that I haven't talked about before or, post a different angle of me in a video even, like I still have some of those fears creep up, but now I know how to move through them quicker, and that is really ultimately the goal, right? I'm never gonna not experience any kind of self-acceptance or body shame ever again in my life. I can't expect that of myself or the world to be that kind, but I can be prepared, right? And I can know that through self-reflection and the support of a loving community that gets it, I can see that my worth is not defined by my appearance and instead focus on my impact on those around me and my character and my values and the things that I can control as well, because we have so much less control over our body shape and size than we give ourselves credit for. We really just, it's so much more genetics than we realize, and environment and things like that. So anyway, all that to say, your body is a good body. It's doing its best right now. It's pumping so much blood through every bit of your body. It's caring for your organs. It's regenerating cells. It's preparing, if you have a cycle, it's preparing your cycle for your hormones to change, and just so many details, right? Our brains are constantly cataloging every little piece of stimuli we're feeding it and making sense out of it so that we can have a calm existence. Like, there's so much to be grateful for and not only accept, but really appreciate about our bodies that are deeper and more important than just the way it looks. So for me, that's something that I constantly try and work on and nurture and love so that I can be more confident and continue to show up for my community online. So the second thing I did is finding out that I have ADHD and then embracing that. So I didn't know that I have ADHD until I was 28 years old when I was late diagnosed. So typically ADHD is caught while you're in the school system. It's even one of the criteria, I'm pretty sure, is that you had childhood experiences that were in line with the ADHD diagnosis and symptoms. So, living with ADHD undiagnosed as well was a huge challenge. I've always been like a very passionate, very quick learner, someone that wants to be involved in everything. even though that can get me in trouble sometimes. But, I love learning, and it's such a strength of mine to be interested in a lot of things and to learn fast and honestly know a lot about a lot. But it's also a huge challenge to have ADHD, and it was not too surprising because I, like many during 2020, got on TikTok and was very quickly brought over to my people on TikTok, us other neurodivergent folks. And it was through those creators sharing about their lived experiences that I was inspired to go and talk to my counselor that I had been working with for a few years about the potential to have ADHD and what it might mean to know if that's true and how it could be impacting my life and how I might be able to just work a bit better with my brain. And so thankfully I did get the diagnosis, and since then I have been just so grateful for knowing that so that I can self-identify correctly. I can advocate for myself better. I can find resources and knowledge articles to learn more about how to live with ADHD and manage my emotions and all those good things. So just if you have any mental health struggles, like, please talk to someone about it. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and know that a diagnosis is really just a tool to help you highlight resources that can help you and doesn't have to be a bad thing. So for me, getting diagnosed was just the tipping point of truly having to work on accepting myself and learning to harness the power of my brain. Like, I am exceptionally creative and I can hyper focus like a motherfucker. Like, leave me alone with something I'm excited about. Like, I regularly will complete 1,000-piece puzzles in like 2 to 3 days. I'll binge watch TV shows for hours. I'll get excited about something for a new offer in the business, and I will develop it in a day because I hyper focus and have boundless energy that just, goes and goes and goes. And that has been a massive benefit in my academic career, my professional career, and my business. But being able to know that, hey, sometimes that ADHD also means I'll forget important stuff. And I'll sometimes struggle with my emotional regulation, and remembering little details is really hard, but remembering song lyrics from songs from 1999 is super easy. It's weird, but it is the way it is, right? And so building off of the first area of self-compassion, self-acceptance, embracing my ADHD has helped me understand that my brain works differently, and that's okay. And needing to utilize tools like timers or reminders on my phone, and needing to prioritize alone time to just listen to my thoughts and organize them, and like journal regularly to brain dump all the thoughts my brain has. I mean, it's not all, let's be real. If I was doing that, I would never be done. But document some of the things that are weighing heavy on my head to get them out of my head and onto paper is so helpful. And if I ever agree to do something for you and you don't hear me say, let me put that on my calendar, like, it's not getting done. So that has also been really helpful to learn that just is the way it is. So if I'm ever getting ready to say, oh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, I'm going to just put that on my calendar. I'm not going to put it on some rogue to-do list sticky note that I'm going to lose. I'm going to go into my calendar and set myself a reminder to do the task tomorrow. And I'm going to set it for 15 minutes. I'm going to set it to give me an alert. And that works for me, But if I was in denial about my ADHD or upset about it or spent my time working against it, I wouldn't be able to be so productive and use my energy in a way that moves my biggest goals forward without burning myself out. Because really, at the core of my brand, at the core of the title of this podcast, Sustain Your Passion, is learning how to surf the waves of hyperfocus and depression, really, because it really does go high and low, but without giving up, and with compassion for the fact that some days my brain just really wants to study random shit, and that's okay. And tomorrow I can get back to my previously scheduled plans, and that's gonna be okay, because even though I might procrastinate, even though I might look like I'm doing 5 things at once, I'm gonna get it all done. I always have, and learning that about myself gives me so much more freedom to not be mad at myself when I can't focus and just go enjoy whatever I do want to focus on during that time, and trust that eventually my attention will come back and my interest will come back for whatever I'm supposed to be focusing on. But really learning to accept my energy, accept what I am interested in, and work with my ADHD has helped me so much, so that I'm not, writing a content strategy and then beating myself up for not sticking to it, or planning what I was going to talk about on a live next week and then getting there and being bored as shit by the topic, even though I love the concept in general, but that day I don't feel like talking about it. So there's so many strategies that can play out for you in really helpful ways if you learn to work with your brain and work with your regular energy dips or highs and find a balance for yourself. The last thing I want to share is amplifying my voice. So as a woman of color, I've learned that I need to amplify my voice in order to be heard in multiple spaces. And over time, I've learned to be unapologetically myself, but that came through many supportive relationships. So none of this is easy to do on your own, okay? So for this one especially, but by embracing my passions and leveraging my unique perspectives, I've become an advocate for inclusivity, diversity, and equity in all of my work, and I'm regularly told how diverse my community of friends, clients, and followers are. And that allows me to share my experiences and insights to connect with others who deeply feel connected to me, that understand my values, that ultimately fosters a sense of community and empowerment among us. And that's because I go out there and I am willing to say, I have something to say. I know my voice is needed in the world, and I have people that want to hear from me so that I can more comfortably and confidently show up and share my thoughts regularly with people. And I hear over and over that my voice matters to people. It changes their lives. It gives them more confidence. And unfortunately, there's this paradox in that you really truly can't feel confident in something until you're really courageous and try it. Because if you feel confident something's going to work out that you have no proof about, we call that arrogance. But what we call confidence is earned. And you earn it by being courageous and showing up. And so really part of being able to confidently and courageously show up and be seen has only come about because I've practiced. And there were times where it was awkward. I hated the picture. I took it down, or I shared something and nobody liked it and I deleted it or whatever. But these days, now I hype myself up. I share things and then I go and share my own things. I put them in my stories. I tag people that I want to hear the message I share. And I'm not sharing from an embarrassed place. I'm not trying to hide it. I want to be seen. I want to be known. And I'm so grateful to share all that I've learned with anyone who wants to hear, because amplifying my voice is what's helping me to connect with my ideal clients as a coach. So if you have been struggling at all with showing up and being seen in your business and you're ready to be more confident, then I really want to encourage you that if you're considering joining me in Passion to Paychecks, which is my group business development program, that is probably the best next step for you. It is amazing to be a part of a community of driven, just passionate, kind, loving, fantastic entrepreneurs that are dedicated to their own individual missions and lifting others as they grow and climb and learn more and share resources together. And there is nothing like being nervous about a picture of yourself, sharing it with a group of people that are going to hype you up, and getting that, okay, maybe this photo is ready to share feedback, and then going and hitting post, because you don't have to be alone. And while, yes, all of these lessons I've shared with you today can be done on your own, it's easier and way more enjoyable to do this work in community. So you are officially invited to Passion to Paychecks if this podcast episode has interested you at all. So you can go to my website, genesisrose.com/Passion to Paychecks to learn all about it. And of course, find me on social media if you have any questions about if spots are open or if now is the right time or not for you and your business to join me in developing your coaching business together. All right, everyone, I hope this episode was helpful. If you have a topic you'd like to hear me speak on, please let me know. Really, send me a message on social media. I want to know because I show up and create this content for you. And if you want me to talk about a topic, I guarantee I will. So reach out to me on social media. Let me know what you thought of this episode or if you have ideas for others. And let's build your coaching business so you can show up and be confident and make the kind of impact that you're here to make. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Sustain Your Passion podcast. If this episode helped you gain a bit more clarity, courage, or confidence, please share it with your friends on social media or in a text. It would mean the world to me. Thanks in advance for sharing this episode. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.